If you, like me, are a leader of men, you know what it's like to feel lonely at the top, so to speak, pushing against cultural messages, sadly pushing against church leadership and even budgeting issues. Today, we're going to be talking to Scott Haima, Executive Director of the National Coalition of Ministries to Men, about their Fall National Conference for Men that's all about helping men's ministry leaders collaborate, encourage, and resource. Stay tuned. I want to introduce you my good friend Scott Haima. Scott has been in ministry many, many years. He was the president of the Christian Service Brigade for many years, and he has recently stepped down from that position. He's taken on the new position as the executive director of the National Coalition of Ministries to Men, where I serve as a board member. I'm really excited for the days that Scott is going to lead this organization. One of the things that Scott is doing that really excites me is he's reinstituted the National Conference for men's ministry leaders that was going strong up until COVID, and we haven't met since 2019. I want Scott to come on the show today and just share with you a little bit about this conference, and I'm hoping you men's ministry leaders listening, or even guys that lead men, it can be in anything. I want to see all of you guys, whether you're church leaders, whether you're just guys out there doing some kind of gathering with men, or whether you have a national ministry. I want to see men from all over the country flocking to Kansas City in November to be a part of this great conference. Okay, hey guys, I'm excited to have my friend Scott Haima on the podcast today. He's all the way out in Buffalo, New York. He is a Buffalo Bills fan, and
Yes.
so he's out here. I'm surprised he's not wearing the hat. And Scott and I serve on the NCMM board of directors, so we've been friends probably for about 5 years now. So I'm excited to have him on the show. He's been on our podcast before. Scott, great to have you on, brother.
Thank you. Thanks for having me again, Jim.
Oh, hey, man, I'm excited to have you on. Hey, why don't you do this? For those who haven't listened to the podcast before, why don't you give us a little 30,000-foot view of your life, a little bit of your story?
Oh, wow. That's, how much time do you have? I
You
know
got
that
about
you
3 minutes.
wanted to keep it short.
Yeah.
I went to school out of college for engineering and wasn't really applying myself. So took a detour and joined the Air Force. It was my brother's idea and all along that he really wanted to be in the Air Force. Well, at the very last minute, he backed out. And he passed away in 2005. So I have forgiven him for that. But it was a great turn. And then when I was in Alaska, I spent 4 years in Alaska. I know you just recently been there, Jim. And I took an accounting 101 class and aced every exam and thinking maybe this is what I should do for my career. And, various different jobs, one of them being working at the Buffalo Sabres professional hockey team. I was then called into the ministry full time. And that's what my brother did. My brother was a youth pastor and an evangelist. And he'd be super shocked that, I was, bent on becoming, military businessman and now in ministry full time, specifically to men. And I've never felt more blessed.
Yeah, and that's where we've met. We connected with NCMM, and I always get this wrong, even years later. National Coalition of Ministries to Men.
Correct.
Is that
Yes.
right? Okay.
It is
I always
correct.
want to say National Coalition of Men's Ministries, but I know that's not right. So why
Right.
don't you
And
share?
being a military guy, we love acronyms. And so
100%.
most, use the acronym of NCMM. And in fact, a conference that we're going to talk about maybe a little bit later also has that same acronym, the National Conference on Ministry to Men. But the actual organization is National Coalition on Ministries, plural, to Men.
What did I say? Did I say National Coalition?
Yeah, you did.
Of
You said it
okay.
correctly.
Man, you got me so confused right now. Hey, so you were for years you were the president of the Christian Service Brigade, and
Correct, yes.
now you are the executive director of NCMM. Can you tell us? And I've never actually asked this question. I don't know this answer. Can you tell us your history with NCMM?
Well, I became on staff with the Christian Service Brigade in 2010, but I've been a volunteer in the organization. The organization has been around for over 85 years. in my local church, a volunteer since 1999. And Christian Service Brigade has been a member since, actually, I don't even know. I should probably know that, but they've a long time member. And I started going to the national gatherings in the fall. And one thing led to another. And Mike Young, who a friend of ours with No Warriors out of Virginia, asked if I'd serve on the board of directors in 2017. And so serving on the board of directors, and then one thing led to another, with Claire Hoover being the executive director, stepped back into the assistant director role. They had asked if I'd fill that role.
And from my perspective, I was really oscillating. Do I want to continue serving on the board? What do I want to do? It's been 3 years. And you came on and you've helped lead us into a day of a new vision, a new mission. You're reinstituting the national conference, and I'm really excited about that. And I'm not going to put you on the spot, Scott, because I know you wouldn't put me on the spot, but I love our new vision. It is to be a trusted catalyst for men's ministry and advancing the kingdom of God. But the mission is even more inspiring to me because we live in a world where men are under fire. Our culture's taking shots over the bow, not even over the bow. I mean, right at the heart of men. Men are battling in the church. A lot of these guys who are leading other men feel lonely. But our mission comes along, the mission of NCMM, and it is simply transforming ministries to men through collaboration, resources, and brotherhood. And man, if there's any day ever in the history of our country that needs brotherhood, man, it is now. So that
Absolutely.
I love that mission. And this conference, can you tell us about the history of this conference and what your expectations are for it?
Well, sure. Before I get into that, I just want to touch on a point that you stated that is so on point. Ministry to men is some talk about it being all uphill. It is a battle out there. Jesus talked about it often. And I've been doing a study the last few days of First and Second Peter. Peter constantly talked about the battles that we're in, and the brotherhood, and that we can get through it together, and that collaborative effort and the brotherhood that the ministries to men that NCMM could provide is invaluable. But this conference dates back to, I believe, the year 1999 or 2000. In fact, it was Patrick Morley, who wrote the book Man in the Mirror, has a ministry of that name. He said, I'm in this battle, but I know that there's other men out there. And so he formed this coalition, and he was one of the original founders of this in 1996. And they did it to encourage ministries to men to work together. In fact, I looked up the definition coalition, and it means when it's formed when two or more people or groups work together to achieve a common goal. And so the conference has morphed over the years. And when I first started going, I think my first one was in 2015 in the Denver, Colorado area. It was during just on weekdays. It was meant for members to come, and those in vocational ministry like you and Men in the Arena. Well, I'm really, really pleased with what we're going to be doing this year in Kansas City. The dates are November 14th to 16th, and we're including a weekend day. And so that means that those men that are in a primary vocation that's not ministry can join us on Saturday for workshops and hear from experts from all over the country. In fact, we've got 12 workshops that will be happening on that Saturday morning on the 16th on a plethora of different topics for men, for leadership, the intergenerational, and then, in fact, you're going to be doing one of 3 TED Talks Friday evening for these men as well. So there will be a member portion that will be Thursday evening and Friday. But for those of your listeners that are contemplating, it's like, I've been feeling a nudge that God is calling me to do something more and make an impact in the world around me, as far as especially for men. I know that Kenny Luck coined this phrase: the hope of the world is through the local church, and the hope of the local church is through its men. And we get the men, we get everything. I love that statement that, when you have a man fully on fire, you get his wife, you get his children, you start getting the neighborhoods, and his workplace and so many others. And so we're excited about the format of this conference, that it can include both those in vocational ministry as well as those lay guys that are contemplating. And I'd like to spotlight our mutual friend Mike Young from Nova
Oh
Warriors.
yeah,
It
yeah.
was in 2000. I'm sorry.
I said, oh yeah, yeah.
Okay, all right. It was in 2004. He was in construction and he was listening to the radio, and he heard an advertisement for this very conference in 2004, and it was happening in the Washington, D.C. area. He lives in Richmond, Virginia. And he went, and Brian Doyle, another mutual friend of ours and a board director, he started the Ministry of Iron Sharpens Iron men's conferences. He stood up and he challenged, do we have 100 men over the next several years who will step up and say, okay, I feel the urge, I feel the call from God on my life to step in the space of ministry to men? And Mike answered that call. And in fact, he's gonna be leading a workshop on that very thing on Saturday morning. And he's knocking it out of the park in Virginia, just like you are in Oregon and beyond. And Mike did a tailgate at a Southern Baptist meetings recently, and just doing really wonderful things in Richmond and beyond.
Yeah, he's a great guy. It's really funny. So I'm sure the guys listening to this show are going, "Hey, man, I'm just a guy in the stress bubble of life trying to get it done." And you're talking about leadership. Man, this doesn't feel like right. Well, hey, guys, listen. The vision of Men in the Arena is to see a growing army of men who are becoming their best version and changing their world. Because we believe, as Scott said, that when a man gets it, everyone wins. And our mission, guys, is to inspire, equip, and mobilize you as a man to transform not only your life, but the people you love and the community you impact. So we are calling men to finish this cycle of life as a leader, to lead. You need to step into that role. In fact, we just sent a team captain flag to Jonathan Willard in Norway. He started his second group. This guy's leading two groups. I don't know. They all look young to me, but he's got to be under 30. I mean, this guy's crushing it. One of the things we do, Scott, is we give guys a team captain gym flag. It's this big, beautiful, it's a beautiful flag, 3x5 flag, just to say thanks. And if a guy says, hey, I listened to Pat Morley on your podcast and we started a group with his material, we say, we don't care. We're going to send you a flag anyway. I mean, we love men. We love men who lead. We want to empower them, reward them. In fact, one of the things I don't get anything out of this, but we've sent over 200 books to Kansas City, and we're giving away my newest book, Dialed In, to every men's ministry leader who shows up. And it's just our way of saying, hey, guys, thank you for getting in the arena. So
Yes.
super excited about that. So Scott, what are some characteristics, like when you think of these guys coming, what are some of the things they are going to be struggling with? What are some of the questions they're going to be asking?
Well, I knew you were going to ask, some thought-provoking questions. You know, it was interesting, like my own story. I joke around that I was a reformed accountant, and I was working at an insurance company, stable, steady industry, and contemplating on coming into on staff with Christian Service Brigade. I did not. I've gone to church my entire life, and I've heard the stories of missionaries, preaching at my local church on a Sunday morning. So like, oh, I knew I felt I was called to the missions field at the age of 12. It's like, well, I never felt that ever, and I, started to contemplate, should, are you called just by being asked? And so I started to wrestle with that and sought out a lot of counsel. And the book Wild Goose Chase from Mark Batterson really helped me. And so, one thing that you're going to ask yourself is, all right, how am I going to pay my bills? if you're going to go into a vocational ministry on your own, typically you're going to need to start to raise some support. I had mentioned earlier my brother, who was a youth pastor and then struck out as an evangelist. And he struggled out of the gate starting something. In fact, when I decided and I was contemplating going into the ministry full time, my own parents didn't really want me to do it. But I came to the conclusion, sought out scripture, and knew that if God's calling me to do it, he'll provide. And I've never felt more blessed, not only just financially, but my whole life, it has been enriched because of it. That is going to be a big question that guys will ask.
Well, I've had several of my successful businessmen go, I'm just like you, only I don't get paid to do ministry. And I say, hold on, you are nothing like me. A man who is called, and I just want to put this on the record, Scott, a man who is called to ministry is nothing like a man who is called to business, except for they follow Jesus. And here's why, because I remember, I don't know if any man who's a businessman sat down with his wife, as I did before we got married. I said, you will never own a home. You will never have money. And if you don't like it, don't marry me. I had that conversation with her because the call to ministry is the call to be motivated only by the call and the will of God. It's not to be motivated by money. It's a whole. Yes. And when we launched Men in the Arena, my poor warrior wife, what a warrior. Our house went into foreclosure. She's having to watch her husband limp along, begging for every quarter that came in, as we tried to save the house and start a ministry from scratch. And that woman now, today, that woman owns 2 homes. I mean, so God has really blessed her. The other home's barely a home; it's a baby home. But I mean, what I'm saying is, there's a call that is different, and these men that accept this call, and there may be guys, and I believe men are called to men's ministry. So you may have a day job, you're a postman, you're a construction guy, you're an accountant, and God calls you to men's ministry. That is a calling. It's a lay calling maybe, but it's a calling, and we have to answer these calls. And I believe, Scott, that we are entering a day and age where the men of God, the remnant in our country, are going to stand up and say, "We're done. We are done. And we are not going to." Yeah.
There are so many niches. That's one thing I love about this coalition that we're a part of, is because there's so many different niches of men that you can get involved in. We have a whole plethora of guys who are extremely passionate about becoming a stronger husband, and within their marriage. We just signed on to the Speakers Bureau, and I was on his website, Don Manning. He's got a really cool website called Cool Family, and he's all about fathers. He wants to have dads really step up, and he's got 7 children, and to step into that space as fathers. We've got several like Steve Etner and Dan Wobschall and others that are into sexual integrity. I don't care who you are. If you're a man and you're breathing, you struggle with that.
Oh, yep. And, unless you're a liar.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's right. What's the stat? 8 out of men struggle with sexual integrity and 2 are liars.
Yeah, I thought it was more like 99 out of 100, but that's okay. We're on the same page.
Yeah, exactly. And so, and then there's a whole realm of the outdoor type ministries. One that I was involved with CSB. There's Trail Life and Jack Ward and Rugged Men. The list goes on of things that men are either struggling with or really into as far as what they would do. I love the aspect of God is everywhere. He's in everything. And you can find a spiritual application in just about everything you do. I know you were just in Africa, and I saw some of the pictures. Yeah, I'm sure there's another book probably coming out from your trip there and the spiritual applications that you probably learned from being there.
Yeah, we did produce 21 podcast episodes. So those are dropping. Exactly. As we interview, those are dropping. And the cool thing about that is my producer, the podcast producer, came and he brought his wife, and we had times together, gathering together. It was a hunting trip mostly. It was really vacation, but I worked on it. And his wife was deeply ministered to. And I mean, to me, that was the coolest part of the trip, was watching his wife just received the ministry of the Holy Spirit, right?
Oh,
And
yes.
to be with my wife, just me and my wife, and just the beauty of all that, right? And there's something beautiful there when you're able to watch the Holy Spirit of God work in a life. And we really are. I mean, I think we'll just go call it the Mike Young challenge. I would like to see 100 men from this podcast respond to this call and
Mhm.
join us in November. I would love to see that, guys. We got free book for you. I'm excited to go to KC because I'd like to try the barbecue. So I'm
Yes.
really going. I'm bringing my, Jay Penton, our global outreach guy. We're trying to gather our board of directors up. We're working hard to get guys here. So here's my question. I mean, this is the question, right? So where is it? Where's the conference and when?
Well, it is in a town, I believe that it is Independence, Missouri, and it's at FBC Blue Springs. I believe that stands for First Baptist Church. Our mutual friend and fellow board member Rod Handley has been doing a lot of things on the ground there for it, and he has a ministry called Character That Counts. And he and another founder of NCMM, Dan Erickson, who unfortunately passed away, I believe in early 2017. He and Rod started something called TGIW. I typically get this, I think it's through God's infinite wisdom. And there are pledging host homes. So, guys who may want to come that may not be able to afford the whole thing. The conference itself, the entire conference is only $99 and includes 2 meals. And plus, we're providing some host homes. Then there are many motels, some of them, only 300 or less than 300 yards or less than a half a mile from the church of where the conference is going to be. So everything is working out very well for the logistics. And I'm sure that if you need ground transportation, one of Rod's guys can help out with that. So we're excited about the location that it is in.
And all of
As
the NCMM board members, all of us are volunteers. Nobody's paid. Nobody's
right.
making money. I mean, your position is technically a paid position, but you haven't been paid in the first several months you've been working because we're trying to revamp the organization. So I appreciate your integrity on that. I know that's a lonely world as well. So it's happening in Independence. Is it safe to say Kansas City? So Kansas City, Missouri, not Kansas, Kansas City, Missouri. It's $99 a person. Okay, so help me. Let's lock this down. When is it happening?
It is starts Thursday afternoon, November 14th, and will end around noon on Saturday, November 16th.
The 14th to the 16th, Thursday through Saturday, Independence, Missouri. So, guys, I mean, many of you listening can just drive there. And
Yes.
if not, fly in there. I'll be flying in there and excited to be there. Anything
Maybe
else?
not your new friend from Norway, but
Yeah, he may not be
we'd love to
flying
see
in
him
there,
there.
but how does a guy get more info on the conference? Where does he
Well,
go?
you can go to ncmm.org, ncmm.org, and scroll down just a little bit, and you'll see a logo for the conference there. And just click on that logo, and it'll take you to the registration page and give you a lot of details.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you the one thing I'm expecting and anticipating, besides the barbecue, the one thing I'm really excited about, and I'm going to ask you to answer the same question. What are you most excited about? The thing I'm the most excited about is many of these guys, Mike Young, you threw out Mike Young, Patrick Morley. I don't know if Pat's coming, but a lot of these guys I've never actually shook their hand and really looked them in their real eye. And so I'm really excited to, give these guys a big, under 3 second bear hug, and just see these guys. I'm excited to collaborate with guys that are in the trenches with me. That's what
I'm
I'm really fired up about this. What about you?
over the top because the last time we were all together in this realm was 5 years ago, 2019. We were partnering with Promise Keepers because Promise Keepers just got a new executive director, Ken Harrison, and they wanted to do a return to stadium events, and they targeted Dallas, Texas, 2020. We all know what happened that year, but in October of 2019, we gathered together and collaborated to help promote that conference, as well as, the collaboration of Ministry to Men. And that's the last time that we've been together. So 5 years later, this is going to be great. It is really going to be
and
good.
it's the only, at least in our country, it's the only coalition, and it's the only men's conference out there for men's ministry leaders that I've heard of. So
Correct.
This is very unique, guys. If you are considering men's ministry in your church, if you're considering any kind of environment where you are leading men, if you're a current men's ministry leader, man, guys, get on ncmm.org, check this out. I would love to. I mean, you guys, we call you guys heroes. We have hero stories for a reason, because you are the heroes. I want to shake your hand. I want to look you in the eye. I want to tell you thank you. I want to hand you a book and write some kind of note in there for you. I mean, I'm excited to see you guys there. Join us November 14th to 16th, Independence, a.k.a. Kansas City, Missouri. Scott, is there anything else you want to tell a guy who's on the edge?
Well, we talked a little bit about callings and, men potentially pursuing vocational, but I think just touch on a point that you had stated about the man who is a local men's ministry leader. We talked about uphill, and you come to this because you're going to be able to find a lot of resources from those who are in vocational ministry, and also, just brush shoulders, with each other. That shoulder to shoulder ministry is what men love. We joke around and say, all right, gather around in the basement of a church, put your chairs in a circle, face each other, and now share. That it just doesn't happen well. Get them out doing something. Let's go fishing. Let's go hunting. I just got back with my men's group, and we, went ATV riding. It's just wonderful to brush shoulders like that. So if you're a local men's ministry leader, we'd love to see you there as well.
Well, and just a little word of wisdom for the women listening. So ladies, listen, women do life eye to eye. Men do life shoulder to shoulder. Don't put us across each other, have us stare in each other's eyes and sing Kumbaya. We just don't like it. But put us shoulder to shoulder and magic happens. So women, that's a little bit of insight for you guys. You may be going, oh, wow, I never thought of it that way. That's true. You never see guys in a duck blind facing each other. Let's just put it that way. Or riding an ATV holding each other's arms. You're never going to get me hugging you from the backside there, Scott. I'm sorry. Not unless my quad breaks down and I'm desperate. So anyway, well, hey, Scott, again, ncmm.org. I look forward to seeing you in November, and thanks a lot for coming on and helping push this out to the world.
I'm so thankful that you had me, Jim. It was a pleasure, and it was a lot of fun.
It always is, man. Have a great day, bro.
Thank you. You too.
Yep. Hey, guys, if this podcast day inspired you, and if you're considering coming to our national conference, please, please, please hit us up at ncmm.org. We are excited to see you this fall. Until next time, feel the wet sand on the arena floor. Hear the deafening roar of the crowd. Taste the sweetness of victory. Smell the stench of battle. Get in the game. Get dirty. Grind it out. And be a man. We often forget, guys, that God has called us to steward the bodies He gave us so that we'll be ready, healthy, and spiritually dangerous to fight the good fight. That's why we're so excited to partner with Mountain Tough Fitness Lab. Join me on my journey by going to mountaintough.com and getting your free 6-week trial when you type in the code ARENA30. You won't be disappointed. Stay dangerous.